Hi folks, welcome to the Spirited Art Studio tonight. It's 7 o'clock and it's time for our online video, live stream video, and it's coming to you from my kitchen table, which is now the online Spirited Art Studio that originally was from the lower level of Robertson Wesley United Church. Thank you for being here tonight. It's good to see you. And so we're going to be talking about a few different things that are ongoing in the studio. On Wednesday, last Wednesday afternoon, we were talking about a few art projects that I have had going on that I was going to continue working on over the weekend and then share with you how far I got with them. One of them in particular was one that I was really not happy with and was hoping to resolve. And so I think I did. So I'm happy with the new results. So what had originally happened with it is that I was not happy with the background and the stenciling of the butterflies, and everything was kind of looking a little bit like there was some 3 black stencils around this area, and they were looking like they were a bit in their own bubble. Hi Pan, good to see you. Thanks for joining in. And so this is my painting as it is now, my artwork with the multimedia, and this is pretty much finished now, I think. As you can see, I've added the embellishments, which I would call the finishing touches, and so this is my expression of morph, or what I would say is about spiritual transformation, becoming who you are. So it's just kind of a bit of a whimsical idea about just the idea of metamorphosis and how the caterpillar becomes more of who it is as it becomes a butterfly. And so this is kind of symbolic of a spiritual transformation. And as you become more of who you are, it's a spiritual journey. So I found this really good quote that I wanted to, I'll get back about resolving, how I resolved the painting and the other things happening in the piece, but I just wanted to share with you a quote about the spiritual journey that I found. It's from writings of Marianne Williamson, who you may be familiar with. It says, "Love is what we are born with. Fear is what we learn. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and prejudices and the acceptance of love back in our hearts. Love is the essential reality and the purpose we have on earth. To be consciously aware of it, to experience love in ourselves and others, is the meaning of life. Meaning does not lie in things. Meaning lies in us." So that's a pretty big, profound statement. But I think what is particularly meaningful to me in this is that the unlearning of fear and prejudices and the acceptance and love back in our hearts. We tend to take on, we learn behaviors and patterns of coping, and we take on roles that are expected of us as we grow up, and as we then our spiritual journey, I think, becomes when we become aware of the spiritual dimension, first of all. So I guess that would be the beginning of transformation, and then it's a continual journey. Does anybody have any thing they'd like to add, suggest, or comment on about this? So I think unlearning of fear is what impacts me. And love is what we are born with. So those are some thoughts that I was having as I painted this painting of the spiritual journey and transformative process, and where I have this morph on the side. So we shall morph indeed, just like the Power Rangers, for those of you who may remember them. So I'm just going to take a peek and see what people are saying. Hello, Michelle. Hi, Pan again. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, if you want to comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, yeah, as I was saying, some of you may have been watching how this painting has sort of transformed itself. It originally was just a background that had a monochromatic color scheme in these fuchsia colors, ranging from light tints to darker shades of the color. It's a magenta color. So magenta is the hue, and then there are tints and tones. And so I was adding those tones, and then I decided, what am I going to do on this background? And so I was looking at this butterfly calendar from the World Wildlife Foundation. That was one of my favorite calendars, and I took this butterfly from the calendar, and then I also took a photograph of myself dancing, and I just thought it would be a fun way to kind of superimpose or the juxtaposition of myself onto the butterfly wings. Then there was another whole side of the butterfly on this side that I decided to take away from the piece, because I wanted it to look like the wings were behind me as I was dancing, or even imagining that I was in flight. So I had my spiritual wings, you could say. So I took that part of the butterfly out of the painting. And then there was a night where I was demonstrating doing stenciling. So I have this stenciling of this alphabet along the side here that spells the word morph. And then I had 3 other stencils of the butterfly, and this one is the one that remained, because that's one I like the most. And then the reason I wasn't happy with the painting or this multimedia piece at one point is that I just felt that it lacked unity and cohesion. Although the monochromatic color scheme helped to bring it together, I felt like each of the butterflies were kind of in a blob of their own, of the darker paint, and it just wasn't blending together well. So what I did to resolve that is I took a sponge, just a regular household sponge, and I used it, and I used colors of that had already been on the background, and just sponged it on and added texture, more and more texture. And I actually completely took away 2 of the stenciled butterflies, and just only this one is remaining. And so I had these other butterflies that are from recycled greeting cards. There's a couple of favorite greeting cards that I have, and some little florals as well. So I decided that I wanted to add them, just to add a little bit more embellishment and to finish off this piece and give it a little bit more interest for myself. And so it's still in the drying phase. I used some thick gel, medium gel, to put them on the canvas, just to make sure they were stuck down really well and adhering to the canvas. And also I put a gloss coating over top of them to protect them. So probably just in the final process of this, I'll probably go over the whole canvas with a bit of a watered down gel, just as sort of a glaze, as a sort of a finishing coat, to just protect all of the elements on the painting or art piece. So that's it. That's where I got to on that. So I just put that aside for a minute. Well, actually, I'll leave it here for a couple of seconds. Hi, Michelle. You can't stay long. Okay, no problem. Thanks for joining in. Hi, Shal. Good to see you. So yeah, I've been talking about the spiritual transformation piece, becoming who you are. So that's that. So I also wanted to just reflect back on this piece that I was talking to in our last session on Wednesday, about these 5 steps to lasting joy, and how these are concepts. It's a concept that I like, that I think works well in a community-based art studio where we connect. So we all come together to be creative. So first of all, we connect. Then we play. We just enjoy the creative art-making process. And it's about exploring, learning, discovery in a very informal process to do that in. And yeah, so that's play. And then as we do it more, we become more familiar with it. And so although we're still playing, it becomes a practice, and it becomes something that you do regularly, and so you gain confidence in it. So it's sort of a natural progression, and it's not something where I think the whole joy is left behind if it becomes something that is where you feel pressured to do it. It needs to be something that you feel internally motivated to do. So I think that is really important part of the lasting joy in the process. And so then it's from play to practice to mastery. So as we practice more and more, we develop a mastery of what we've been doing. So we become confident in our art making process because, you know, we've done it more than once. We've done it regularly, and we get more comfortable with it. And then within the community, we find recognition, and we give recognition to one another. And so there's that feeling of being recognized and being heard and being seen. And so then that, of course, goes right back, feeds back into the connection. So this is what I think is really simple, but at the same time important, and really important part of the community-based art studio that I've found to be important. And so I just wanted to share with you something I was sharing with my son on Mother's Day. He lives in Calgary, and so he called me, and we had a digital chat. We were on camera, so it was FaceTime. So it was really great to see him, even though we weren't really, we were just, it was just like this, although I'm not getting to see you, but it was a virtual chat, and it was just really nice to see him. We've been doing that more often now, because we can't just zip down to Calgary or zip up to Edmonton to see each other. So anyways, I was telling him about this live stream and about the art studio and this whole process and how it's going, and how it's been quite a step for me, and it's been transformative for me. And so when I was talking to him about this, he suggested that I talk to you about this. So I thought, okay, why not? It's a good idea. So so this has been transforming to me, just in the sense that I'm just not a person who likes to put myself out there. I don't like speaking publicly. I don't really like being in the limelight. I don't like public speaking, I guess you could say. And this, in a sense, is what this is. And so, yeah, I was terrified to begin this. I guess not terrified, but I was close to that. I was pretty nervous at the start, and continue to be, although the more I do it, kind of goes like this, you know, connect, play, practice, and you feel better and more comfortable. And with the support of you, I feel supported and feel more connected, and so I feel more and more able to do this, and it's giving me joy. But the thing that is ironic about it is, here it is in a time where we are, you know, to be self-isolating, and we are to be social distancing. It's ironic that this is the time that I've become comfortable with putting myself out there and speaking on this public platform. So I shared that with my son, the irony around that, and he kind of laughed, and he said, "Good for you, Mom, way to go, and you should tell everybody about that." So here I am telling you about that. So, and again, I just want to say that it's all about you, and just feeling like we all needed a way to connect. I wanted for our art studio to stay connected, and so this is what motivated me. So my my love for the people, my love for our community kind of overpowered my fear of doing this. So yeah, so that's a part of it too. And so that's what was really transformative for me. And so that's what makes this quote that I read to you earlier meaningful for me, and a part of my spiritual journey. So this, by the way, is on an art card, and these art cards were beautiful cards in a store I was in on the island of Maui in Hawaii. Was this little store in Macau, yeah, in Maui, and it's a beautiful little store, and where this artist had just had all of her artwork showing. It was all these beautiful artwork, watercolor renderings that were just stunning. And so I thought I would just quickly share with you these art cards that I brought home. These are beautiful sea turtles. And this is palm trees. And I thought this was just a genius idea, because what she did was she had all of the art cards on display, and you could buy them in singles, but you could also choose a package of a dozen of them, and so they were cheaper by the dozen. Hello, that's a good idea, right? So I bought a dozen of them and brought them home in this little package, and so I just thought I'd share them with you. This one is of these beautiful trees, and I'm forgetting the name of them, but she named this painting the Giving Tree. So this one is particularly beautiful to me. So out of all of the images she had on display, these were some of the ones that I picked out. So I'm just going to take a peek at some of your comments. Hi Diane, glad you're joining us tonight. That's great. Saturday was International Turtle Day? Oh, that's so cool. I did not know that. So I'm going to show you the turtles again. I just loved the turtles. I've got two of them, two paintings of the turtles. And we're going to get back into watercolor painting next week. We're going to do something tonight that is just a quick little meditative mandala, what we're going to do with watercolor, but we're going to get more intensely involved in watercolors next week. We're going to do birds. So, looking forward to that. I hope you will look forward to it as well. So these were the turtles. So yeah, I'll just hold it up really as closely as possible, and you can just see the beautiful detail in the watercolors. And I'll show the other one. This one is a vertical composition. Oh good, I'm glad to hear you say yay, Pam, that's awesome. So yeah, so I'm gonna show you some different techniques in watercolor and how to bring it together in a composition that we're gonna do of birds. And you can also take the techniques and apply it to other compositions and other subject matter. So those are the cards, and this was the card with the Marianne Williamson quote on it that I was just love so much, with the magnolias in the background. So yeah, I thought it would be nice. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I'm be interested in just doing mindful meditative practice that includes doing artistic practice, creating a mandala with watercolor. So a mandala, just to remind you all, is that is Sanskrit, or ancient Indian name for circle. So the circle is sacred in many faiths and cultures. Just to contemplate wholeness. I think it's because, well, I know in reading about the mandala, it is because the circular shape, the geometry of the shape, right, is there's no edge, there's no beginning and no end, and it has this sense of wholeness in the circle, and in the sort of the eternal sort of line that just keeps going around, and how you can become centered as you focus on creating a design within the circle. So it's just a very simple meditative practice that you do mindfully. So as I've talked about before, mindfulness is just becoming more present in the moment, more present with what you're doing, with the colors you're choosing, and with your senses, hearing, listening to what's happening around you, and just being more aware of how you're feeling in the moment, relaxing into your posture, taking a breath and being aware of your breath, and just relaxing into the process. And so we're going to draw the circle, and I'm going to just take a pencil and draw the circle on this watercolor paper. Oh, and I was going to show you a couple examples of mandalas, because of course watercolor is only one way and one medium that you can use. So this was a mandala I created with black paper and metallic pastels. So I drew the circle with a white pencil crayon, and then I just started in the center. So I just sort of estimated where the center was in the circle and found that center, and just started adding shapes as I went round and round. I began with one shape, the white in the center, and then slowly added these petals, filled them in with purple, and then brought these pink lines out, added dots to them, then extended the white again and added dots. Then I added the purple again. And so I just went round and round and just created a pattern by just continually working around the circle. And there's something that is really calming about just organizing patterns around in a circular design like this. And so I invite you to give it a try. This is another one. So I'll just quickly show you that one. So just using different shapes and colors and patterns. And so then this one was completely different again. It's on white paper and with just regular pastels. Or, yeah, and just blending the colors in big kind of blotches, and slowly blending them and not using any kind of geometrical shapes or patterns, but just kind of blotches of colors. So that's a completely different approach that you could try as well. And so the approach I'm going to do tonight with watercolors, I'm just going to choose one of my palettes from this palette of watercolors, which is actually a series of little mini mandalas, you could say. And I think I'm going to use these series of greens and yellow and blue just to work with on this mandala, just because they're all going to harmonize and they'll work well together. They'll mix nicely, and that will work well with the technique I'm going to use, which is called wet on wet watercolor technique, or also known as just paint into water. So as you can imagine by the title of it, it is just putting, and I think I have already demonstrated this once before, but I find that I just can't do this often enough. I just find this a really wonderful, mindful, meditative practice, and so I just want to share with you again, and just enjoy it again tonight. So the main thing with this watercolor paper is you want it to be paper that will not ripple, so that when you add a lot of water to it, it's going to stay flat. So this is watercolor paper that I have here, and I drew this circle on it, the mandala, with a pencil, and now I'm just going to go around the circle with a white pastel crayon, because the interesting thing about oil is oil resists water, and so just the same as on Easter eggs, you use wax, and that resists the water, the colors on the Easter egg. So I'm going to use this oil pastel to redraw the circle, and that's going to act as a barrier for the water, so that when I add paint, it'll just hold the paint, the water and the paint, nicely within the circle. It's just kind of a adds to that. I noticed I have just a little smudge of, I'm not sure what that is right there. I think it might be acrylic paint stain, so I'm just not going to worry about it. And so I'm going to begin with this watercolor wet on wet technique, and the first thing that's important is to get lots of water on your paper. So I'm just going to use a big brush for that. Get lots of water in the brush, and add the water onto the page, and I hope that you're able to see the page really well and see what I'm doing well enough. So I'm adding lots of water. And the wax, or sorry, the oil pastel acts as a resistance, so it's holding the water within the circle nicely for me. As I continue to add lots of water so that it just forms a big puddle within the circle, because you want it not to dry too quick, so you want lots of water for this technique. And another thing that's really important about this technique is that you want to do it on a flat surface, so that the water will continue to be contained, and rather than if it was tilted up like this when I was applying acrylic paint to here, it's got different medium where the paint isn't going to drip down. This paint would just, and water would obviously just drip right down, so I'm leaving it flat. So now I'm going to add my watercolors to my circle, my mandala, and I'm going to just put on some piano to chill and just relax into this. And so I suggest you to do the same, whether you're able to join me in this process right now, or if you do it later. I recommend you enjoy some nice relaxing music as part of it. So I'm just going to load up my paintbrush with water and then with lots of paint. And then I'm going to just add the paint onto the surface and allow the paint to just disperse into the water. And just enjoy watching it disperse and see how it happens. I'm going to add colors. I'm just going to see. Thank you. So I'm just going to add some green now. So you want to have lots of paint on your brush, lots of water first, and then load it right up with lots of paint as well. And then you can just almost just dab it onto the surface. You can almost have a tie-dye effect. I noticed that tie-dye has become all the rage, become a real trend right now, which is kind of fun. But this kind of has the same idea, because of how the colors just kind of flow into one another. I was just thinking about Turtle Day. This is going to look kind of like a turtle's back. So maybe I will eventually finish creating the turtle. The sea turtle. They have really, I've went scuba diving once and saw a sea turtle, and they really are big, round shells that they have. You just go drifting around the water. So neat to see them. see what other colors look like. I'm just going to go around this little palette and add each color. So this one doesn't seem to be adding too much. So I think I'll go on to the next. This one is a nice dark green, so I think it'll show up a lot more. It's really funny because I did not know about International Turtle Day, and I did not plan to use these colors or think of it being a turtle shell. It's funny how these things happen. So you can see how the colors are just dispersing together. I'm going to add some yellow again. So it's looking kind of like a greeny yellow because my paintbrush was already had a lot of green on it. And got two more colors, an even darker green. And this should have an interesting contrasting effect in the lighter colors. And so you can see how when they immediately go on, it has a very defined mark, and then it slowly disperses. And depending how much water there is, I noticed that even though this is watercolor paper and it's not supposed to ripple, it is rippling. And I think it's just that it's not that it has excessive amount of water on it, and probably a heavier weight watercolor paper would do this effect a little better. But it's kind of fun to play with the different areas and see how they're affected differently. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. So the different areas are affected differently. The areas that are drier and the areas that have pools of water. And so now I'm going to put the final color on, which is blue, and that should be interesting to see how that looks. So I want to have, again, lots of blue on my brush. You want to have more paint than water, really, because otherwise you'll have watery paint. That makes sense? Okay, so here's the blue. So the blue is showing up really nicely, so you can see how it's dispersing with the other colors. I'm feeling calm and relaxed, and I'm glad to have done this. Works for me. I hope you'll find similar calming effect. It's a great way to self-regulate when you're feeling a little stressed or a little anxious or concerned about something or emotional over whatever might be happening in your day, to just find some time to just enjoy this meditative, mindful process. So I hope you found it mindful and enjoyable to, I'm just going to tilt it slowly, to just to watch the process as well. I hope that was fun. And just tilting it around and watching how the colors flow. And that's kind of neat to watch too. Got a bit of a river running through the center of the mandala, so that's having an interesting effect. So that's pretty much all I have for you tonight. Hope you enjoyed being here with me this evening. Thanks for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Ciao for now.